The war in Ukraine is hitting close to home as President Biden recently warned U.S. businesses to ready themselves for a Russian cyber attack. For more on this, let's welcome Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota. He and more than 20 other senators sent a letter on Sunday evening to the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary raising concerns about U.S. readiness against cyber threats amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Senator, thanks for joining us. Prior to the invasion, the Biden administration was very transparent or forthcoming about intelligence that it was receiving, more so than maybe we've ever seen in the past. And as we now know, everything that they were sharing with us came to pass. So if they tell us that they're preparing cyber attacks, they must have some pretty good evidence. You probably know more than we do about it. What can you tell us?
Russia uses third-party players. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll make a deal with a third party, criminals that otherwise would be doing ransomware attacks and so forth. In this particular case, the areas that they'll probably take a look at, energy, communications, financial services. They like the idea of being able to send a message to the American people. What we're also finding out, though, is that our energy sector and our communications sector, our financial sectors, are probably the ones that have the most time to prepare and have done the best job of hardening their systems. But nonetheless, the Russians are frustrated. They understand that they're not doing well in Ukraine, and they're frustrated by the fact that we are getting a lot of weapon systems into Ukraine. They would love to send a message to the American people that this is going to impact us as well. We have to be prepared for that.
Senator, that's just one aspect of what we're seeing. People are starting to point out that it's a difficult position to take. If you're petrified of a nuclear war, and yet you're still probably, your security is better, your intelligence is better, your surveillance, your reconnaissance, even your nuclear arsenal is probably better. Just knowing that Russia is armed, should we take that as a reason to completely, not stay out of it, but to not perhaps do as many things as we would be doing if we were just trying to help Ukraine win? I mean, we're not all in. I don't know whether we should be. And if you do, no one wants a nuclear confrontation. But does that put us in a box that we shouldn't be in?
I think there's two things that we've got to remember. First of all, we are dealing with a nuclear power, and you can't, you can't walk away from that fact. And that limits what we would normally do. But second of all, we want to make sure that our NATO allies are with us. And we are a lot stronger when we have NATO joining with us, and that they know that we're going to be with them and that this is in their backyard. So anything that we do, we want to make sure that we keep that coalition together. That's really important. But you are correct. We can't be just always on the defensive. And we've got to make sure that Mr. Putin understands that his actions will be met and that we're not going to just simply walk away. And that what he has done is absolutely wrong in the eyes of the rest of the world. And, there's a certain amount of humanity here that steps into this. The American people don't like what they're seeing, but they also don't want to see us commit young men and women from our country into this fight. But we don't have a NATO agreement with Ukraine, but we have that sense of humanity that says that what's going on here is wrong, and we want to do everything we can to help. And it puts us in a rather interesting position because we know that what Putin is doing is absolutely wrong. How do we contend with it, and what's the best long-term plan to make sure that he does not succeed? That means, number one, keeping our NATO allies together, putting every single sanction that we possibly can on him, making sure the Russian people know that this is his fault and nobody else's, and that we're not going to walk away from Ukraine. The other piece of this is Ukraine is actually making it really very, very difficult for Putin to get any inroads there, and we're going to continue to supply those weapon systems to them and give them as much support as we possibly can.
Senator, North Dakota, obviously a bit bigger energy player in the United States than South Dakota, but what's impeded energy production? People have pointed out we were energy dependent. There's fewer rigs operating now than 3-4 years ago. What happened? What do we need to do there? And what would a Marshall Plan? I don't know if you saw us talking about Jamie Dimon suggesting a Marshall Plan to help Europe with their energy needs because they're, over a barrel, and that obviously gives Putin a lot of leverage. What needs to be done? Just tell the oil companies to get on the stick, or can the government remove obstacles?
We should be removing obstacles, and we do need stability in our energy policy.
Are there obstacles?
Yes, there are. Let me give you an example. You know, you hear this thing about 9,000 leases available right now on federal lands. What they don't tell you the rest of the story is that you have to do more than just have a lease. You've actually got permission to do the drilling, which means that you've got to have that second permit. Only about 4,500 of the 9,000, according to the information we've got, have actually been authorized. But even then, once you get that lease and you get the permission to do so, you still got to put in the pipelines to get the natural gas out or the petroleum out. And those have been extremely difficult to come by since the Biden administration came in. Look, we should be doing an all of the above when it comes to energy policy. We should be doing conservation measures, but we should not be slowing down the production of natural gas or of oil, of petroleum products. We should be independently wealthy when it comes to oil products and natural gas, and we should be sharing that with our European allies. We should make it easy for them not to have to do business with Russia. Right. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to do all sorts of energy. And the bottom line is we're going to be using petroleum products for more than another decade. And the last time I checked, I didn't have a magic carpet. So I'm going to have to use something that uses petroleum, or I'm going to have to produce electricity using some other product. And until we're ready to engage fully in nuclear, and until we're ready to really engage in long-term solar projects that in some cases may very well mean satellites that actually distribute solar energy back to us, this is not going to, we're never going to get away in the next decade from
Senator, so then
and we should face that.
Senator, I don't disagree with you at all, and I think, especially in the immediate term, we need to deal with this. The question is, if you were to put together a Marshall Project or something like it, what do the incentives need to look like? Is it simply a matter of changing the permitting for drilling? Is that enough, given the pricing pressures that these companies and even just the business models that the majors have taken on?
Most businesses want stability. Look, the XL pipeline is a good example. Who in the world in Canada is going to start drilling and making arrangements to bring natural gas or petroleum products into the United States if every 4 years you have a change in the product and your pipeline gets shut down? Simply isn't going to happen. You've got to have a long-term plan that provides stability and that recognizes the need for all sorts of energy production. You can make it as clean as you possibly can. You don't walk away from the environmental concerns, but you don't ignore and you don't shut down your own economy. Like in South Dakota right now, gas is over $1 a gallon more this year than what it was last year. That's going to hurt our economy. That's going to slow it down. It means that we don't have the resources then in order to address other issues that we want to address. It means that our economy is not as strong as it would have been otherwise. And so when you talk about a Marshall Plan or anything like that, part of it is stability. Part of it is recognizing that you can't just say, all right, we're going to go totally renewables. But let's face the fact, nuclear should be a part of our future. We should be doing the modular systems right now. But don't walk away from a proven energy asset that we've got in the United States and in our friends to the north in Canada in terms of huge reserves that should be accessible. We should simply do it as clean as anybody else in the entire world.
Right. It's difficult, too, because it doesn't matter. Administrations come and go, but this pressure is going to remain. And people point out it's almost like, I don't want to bring up Iran, but if you're a foreign country trying to deal with the United States and, you got one administration, yeah, let's do it. Another administration comes in, now we're canceling. Yeah, another one comes in, yeah, we're doing it. So there's no long-term, and you need long-term visibility if you're an oil executive, and you just don't have it right now. And I don't see how, you're not going to be able to fix this. We're not going to be able to fix this near term.
We need to get back to stability, making arrangements that respect what a lot of people are talking about right now. You have to have energy. There's no question about that.
Well,
we can produce energy as clean as anybody in the world can.
Right. But these other pressures aren't going to go away.
But we're going to have to deal with them.
Right. All right. Yeah. Senator Mike Rounds. So how much energy comes out of South Dakota versus agriculture?
Well, agriculture can produce energy. Ethanol is an item that you can put into. Absolutely. Okay. I mean, we're talking billions of gallons a year.
I hear a little envy about North Dakota coming out right now. They do make a little bit. They produce a little bit more. But we love both Dakotas. We do. We love both North and South.
They're good competition for us.
I speak for all of us. Thanks, Senator. Get back to work. We'll see you. Thanks.